Go ahead and get going, as we do have a lot to cover here. I'm Bob Weber. I'm your general manager of your community club, so I'll be doing the presentation today. But this proposed budget for 2016, as with all budgets in the past, are really a collaborative effort. And it's a collaborative effort with a few groups. First group is our board members. And I'm going to introduce each board member and ask them to stand up as I introduce them. And then if you could save your applause for the end. I know some of our board members, some of our board members couldn't be here today, and other members. But first is Bob Diller, our president. Bob, go ahead and stay standing, please. Steve Smith, vice president. Harry Price, treasurer. Barb Storer is our secretary and timeshare representative. She couldn't be here today. She's actually at a timeshare association board meeting this week. Misty Keys, our developer rep. Misty also could not be here today. She's at a conference this week. John Conrad and Ralph Swift. There's Ralph. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Next group is our Financial Advisory Committee. This group was formed this year to help us look at our finances from a high-level standpoint and help us with some major financial decisions. So we actually did the first draft of the budget, submitted it to them, had a lot of discussion with them and what have you, and then after that presented the final draft to the board, which is what you'll see today. Our chairman is Bruce Cox. Linda Amos. Linda's back there. Julie Cook, Gary Fitch, John Jay, don't believe John is here today, okay. Ron Carnes, I know, is not here today, and then Larry McNamara. So thank you for your help. Last group is the group that really starts it off with their team members. And a lot of y'all may not know all of our senior managers. Some are new today, or new this year, so I'd like to introduce them. First is Neil Archibald, our food and beverage manager, director of food and beverage. Go ahead and stay standing. Pat Davis, administration. Bruce Evans, sewer. Jonathan Goodman, finance. He's behind the show. Jeff Houston is our new director of golf, effective on Saturday, and that's because the next individual, Steve Kraft, our current director of golf, is retiring on Saturday. Actually, tomorrow will be his last day, so actually 5 o'clock on Friday. So let's give Steve a big round of applause. Steve has been here for 11 years and has really taken the golf program to new heights. So just can't thank him enough for his contributions to the golf program and to the community as a whole. So thank you, Steve. Sam McAdoo, ACC and Community Maintenance. Sam's in the back there. Then we have Mary Jo Page. She couldn't be here today. She's also at that same conference as Misty's at. Then William Taylor, Racket Sports. William Taylor had a meeting this morning that he couldn't break away from. Then Becky Waters, our Director of Human Resources, and Chief Michael Williams, Public Safety. So those are the senior management team. Just going to give you a summary of our presentation today. We're going to first talk about the guiding principles for the budget, then get into the sewer system funds, then the property owners fund, we'll call that the POA, Property Owners Association Fund, the amenity fund, which includes golf, food and beverage, racket sports, conference center here. Then we'll pull that all together into a consolidated cash flow. We'll look at the debt that we have, then our amenity master plan, and then last we'll have a Q&A section at the very end. First, I want to talk about our 10-year vision statement. This was updated this year. It was an effort between the board, strategic planning committee, and the financial advisory committee, as well as the SMT, were all involved in this. So we've updated it this year to read, Fairfield Glade will continue to be a growing resort community and become the best value master plan community in the U.S. Next, we're going to go to our mission statement. Mission statement, also updated this year. The Fairfield Glade Community Club will continuously improve the resort lifestyle experience while fostering and promoting a strong sense of community. So everything we do and how we develop the budget is really based on those two statements, the 10-year vision statement as well as the mission statement. Here are some guiding principles for our 2016 budget. First of all, we want to continue to improve the infrastructure. That's your roads, your walking trails, your lakes, and actually we have plans to desilt those lakes this year. And then also the overall appearance of Fairfield Glade. We want to continue the recommended maintenance program that was established by Upland Design Company when they did their existing condition study back in 2012. They went through all of our buildings, our amenity buildings, as well as our administration buildings, and came up with a list of items that we really needed to take care of in order to bring those buildings up to date. We want to continue our amenity master plan, and so for next year, it's really renovating Fireside Lounge and improving the Racket Center, plus adding some additional, or actually some new, outdoor pickleball courts. We want to keep the dues and fees reasonable, and then no additional borrowing. So those were the guiding principles behind this 2016 budget, and really very similar to last year in 2015, or the current year we're in now. First area we want to talk about is our new home starts. The new home starts drive growth in the community, as well as they also drive our sewer revenues. So that's why we like to show that first. Way back in 2006, that was the high point. 226 new home starts. Then, of course, we had the downturn in the economy and the real estate market. So our low was in 2011 at 51. Now, since then, we've had a steady increase, and some of these numbers are hard to see, but had 84 in 2013, 80 in 2014. We're projecting 79 new home starts this year. We're budgeting 85 next year. So we're hovering in that 80 to 85 range and trying to be very conservative in our projections. Now, obviously, we'd like to continue that growth and even see it over 100 a year, but realistically, it's probably not going to ever get back to the heyday back in 2006. Sewer Service Fund. First, good news, no increase in the sewer service fees. They will remain at $31 per month. This is the sewer system's cash flow. Revenues, you can see, are increasing slightly over the current year, and that's primarily due to some capacity fees that we're going to get from Good Samaritan facility as they start to bring those new units online. The expenses actually are going down next year, and that's really because this year we had an unusual year with the ice storm. As a result of the ice storm, we had to do a lot of repairs to grinder pumps. So that's why we had some unusual expenses this year, and next year we're able to actually go down. When you look at the excess revenues, so we're actually going up about $60,000 over the current year, that current year in the 2015 projected column. But then when you look at capital expenditures, we actually have fewer capital expenditures this year than we're projecting or budgeting for in 2016. So we're increasing those by about $150,000. Your principal on the long-term debt always goes up. The interest, as each year goes by, your interest is lower, your principal is higher. So that's why you'll always see that principal going up, paying down that loan. And we'll have a debt service schedule later on. That loan will be totally paid off by the end of 2019. So our net cash flow for this year, projecting about $355,000. Next year, down to about $233,000, and really it's due to that the capital expenditures, which I have on the next slide. But you can see our beginning funds and the sewer funds this year were almost $1.6 million. We end up the year at about 1.9 million. And then next year, with the additional 233,000 in cash flow, we're going to be almost at 2.2 million in the sewer fund. So the sewer fund is very healthy. And actually, most of that is in the service area, which really we can use for anything. So that's the good news. So they're doing quite well. These are the capital expenditures for the sewer systems. First is inflow and infiltration. That's really, you have cracks in pipes and things of that nature. Your grinder pumps may have areas where water can intrude. And so it's a constant battle for any sewer system to take care of that I&I. And so we've got $40,000 budgeted for a lot of those repairs. Equipment and vehicles, $47,000. The primary item for that is a mower in order to mow both the spray fields and the drip fields. So that's the $47,000. Next item, diesel pumps. These are backup pumps when we have power failures at one of the pump stations, as well as when you have heavy water flow. These pumps will actually kick in so that we avoid any overflow situations. And overflows are not good for the community, and we have to report them to TDEC as well. So we want to keep those to a minimum. So we're doing this at every pump station that we've had issues with. Now, the alternative to this is actually totally upgrade the pumps, and that could be upwards of $200,000 to do that. So this is definitely the most cost-effective thing to do. Next item is sludge removal. The plant has been in operation since about 2001, and over time, a lot of your solids will go to the bottom, and that just creates a lot of sludge. And as that gets more and more, you have a less effective treatment plant. So it's time to start doing some sludge removal. So we have 150,000 in there. We haven't finalized exactly how we're going to do that. The 150,000 basically represents a turnkey situation where you have somebody come in and actually pump it out for you. But we're looking at other alternatives that we can maybe do in-house that will be less than that $150,000. And then also get us set up for the future in much better shape. Next item is sewer expansion, $30,000. Now that's anytime we expand the sewer system, that falls in this category. So, for example, recently we expanded the sewer system down at Amherst Lane. That goes against this account. Likewise, Fairfield Homes just did a new neighborhood up in Hickory Ridge. We extended the sewer system for that new neighborhood. That would fall into this category. We don't have any specific plans next year other than at Hickory Ridge, Fairfield Homes may do phase 2 of that new neighborhood, in which case that would go against that. Then we have $10,000 for some pumping station upgrades at the Hawes pump station. Okay, now we're going to talk about the POA Fund and get into the monthly assessment, talk about the operating budget, and then the capital expenditures for that fund as well. Monthly assessments. Right now, they're currently at $52 a month for a lot or home. And we're going to increase those $2 a month, so they'll now be $54 a month for a home or A-tier lot. The B-tier lots are 85% of the A, and the C-tier lots 65%. So you can see you've got an increase of $1.70 for the B-tier and $1.30 for the C-tier. And you can see the totals. Now with all your POA assessments, 75% goes into operations, 25% goes into capital. Next is your amenity reserve fees. You can see currently for homes and A lot, well, for homes it's $600, for A lots $200, B tier lots $200, and $40 for C tier lots. So anytime a lot or a home changes hands, there's a transfer, then this is charged, and that goes into our amenity reserve fund specifically for improvements to our amenities. So it's a capital fund specifically for that purpose. The only item or the only category that's going to be increased this year is the A-tier lot. We're going to increase that $200, so it will now be $400 instead of the previous $200. Rationale behind that is that right now, somebody could buy an 8-tier lot and only pay $200, build a home, and that's it. They've only paid $200. Whereas somebody buys a resale home, they're paying $600. So we feel like it really ought to be higher for the 8-tier lot, especially for those people that are building new homes. So, but we didn't take it all the way up to the 600, which is the same as a resale home. Felt like 400 was appropriate, so there was some distinction. We anticipate that's going to increase our amenity reserve fees by about $60,000 in 2016, and that's based on the transfers that we're projecting for 2015. So this will be a nice increase in income. Next, we have the POA Fund cash flow. You can see the revenues are going up a few $100,000. That really is due to the increase in the HOA fees, the POA fees of $2 per month. That's what's driving that. Our expenses are also going up, and I have a schedule next that will kind of show you the main reasons for that. But you can see our excess revenues before depreciation still right in that 2.7 million range. Okay, this year $2,703,000, next year $2,694,000. So we're right in the same ballpark. Capital expenditures this year we're projecting about $555,000. For the 2016 budget, we have about $508,000. So that's actually going down. You see again the principal and long-term debt going up. So every year that will go up for any of our debt. And then master amenity projects, we have $25,000 in the budget for next year for that. And I'll talk about that later in the presentation. Now, our interfund transfers, what we do is most of your money is coming in the form of dues. And so those dues really help support all your amenities. So we have to actually transfer money out of the POA fund into the amenity fund in order to make sure that they have positive cash. So you can see this year we're actually transferring about $2.6 million. Now that's really primarily due to the Dorchester Clubhouse. Next year we anticipate only transferring $1.7 million. So again, that $1 million difference roughly, it's really as a result of not having a project like the Dorchester Clubhouse that we had this year. So we end up this year projecting about $14,000 in POA funds, and that really is your capital fund. So we kind of use the POA and say that's our capital fund sitting there. So we're getting it down low, and again, that's because the Dorchester Clubhouse. But next year, we'll generate about $381,000, so we'll get that back up to almost $400,000. And we're trying to get that up so that we can have some money in the bank for future improvements, and hopefully we borrow less money. Now, I talked about the expenses. Here are some of the major expense increases. First of all, labor and benefits, about $251,000, and that's due to we've got a 3% payroll pool increase for our employees. We have some new positions, and also healthcare cost. Healthcare cost, when we actually put it out to bid this year, Blue Cross Blue Shield came back with a 40% increase using the same program that we had previously. We actually went out to United Healthcare, same thing. In fact, they were over 40%. So as a result of that, we had to change our program completely. And unfortunately, it hit the employees hard. We had to increase the deductibles. We had to increase the out-of-pocket expenses, and we had to go away from a copay program, which we had as one alternative, to an indemnity program. So we no longer have copays. Everything is now a deductible situation. Once you reach your deductible or out-of-pocket, then the insurance company kicks in and helps and what have you. So, but that's, you know, we really had to do that in order to keep the increase to a reasonable level, but it did have an impact on our employees. The 3% payroll pool increase, in looking at other companies throughout the country, that seems to be the norm, what you're hearing that most people are doing next year. And labor and benefits is really our largest expense here, and because we're a service organization. And so in order to really attract and retain good employees, we really have to pay them a fair wage, and we believe this will keep us at that point where we are paying a fair wage, and then they will take care of you as customers. So that's why we've got a 3% payroll increase. Paving, we're increasing that about $20,000. We hope to do a little more paving than we did this year. Now, speaking of that, we're hopeful that we're going to get the paving done by the end of this month, but we're kind of at the mercy of the contractor, and they're doing some state projects right now, so it may not happen. We may have to defer that until next year, and if that's the case, I'll probably be proposing to the board that we actually double up next year. So instead of having about $550,000 currently in the budget, we'll add the $530,000 that we had in this year's budget, so we're going to be over $1 million in paving. So it's really just a matter of pushing that from one year to the next. We're hopeful that we'll get it done before the end of this month, but time will tell. Then the last thing is desilting lakes, $127,000. That was in the budget this year. We couldn't get it done, couldn't find the right contractor, so we're going to move that into next year, and hopefully we've got a couple contractors that we've talked to, and they're coming up this month to get a lay of the land and give us some final quotes on that. So we hope to be starting that sometime in the spring. Capital budget. The first item is for IT servers, software, and equipment. The major component there, about $140,000 of that, is actually for our new software system. We've purchased a software system. It's been loaded up. We're now in the process doing configuration, and the goal is to actually go live with that new software system in March, actually March 1st of 2016. And then the other things are just, as you can imagine, we have over 80 computers, and we have servers and what have you here, and it's a constant upgrade every year to make sure that they are up to date and what have you. So that's the remainder of that. Gas tanks at the general maintenance facility. A lot of the gas tanks that we have here are 20 plus years old. They're the single line gas tanks as opposed to the double line, which is the new models. So we're actually going to go to double line models at our main maintenance facility, so that hopefully we have no leaks and no environmental issues there. Small item, just a compressor, air compressor for the garage is $6,000. Vehicles, every year we replace a public safety vehicle. They put a lot of miles on their vehicles, so we're in basically a 4 to 5 year rotation on those vehicles. And then we also have another truck for our community maintenance department, and that truck will also have a snowplow on it. So we'll have an additional truck that we can actually do some good snow plowing in the wintertime. Walking trails, we have $58,000 for that, and that's going to be a combination of some additional paved trails plus some parking lot areas, as well as spending some money to have a small dozer come in and actually cut some of the new nature trails. So that's what that's all about. And we've been doing that every year. We've been spending $50,000 to $60,000 to expand our trail system. And in fact, trails are the #1 amenity throughout the U.S. for communities. So that's something we want to continue to do, to expand that trail system and really make Fairfield Glade a more walkable community. Facility buildings repairs, $114,000. We have a lot of facilities here and a lot of items that need to be taken care of, roof repairs or new roofs, things of that nature. So anything that is over $4,000, we put into this category. And so that's what that's all about. So you've got a subtotal there about $508,000. That's your kind of what we call our normal recurring capital. And then the last item is a master mini project item for $25,000, and that's actually some land planning for the land near the four-way stop area. So we can actually start looking at that land and determine what's the best use for that land. When we did the strategic planning survey, I think back in 2012, the #1 amenity that the residents actually wanted was a new bandstand to replace the old Mirror Lake bandstand, which I've been told that was built like in the 70s or 80s. So, but we want to make sure that we put that bandstand in the right spot. It may ultimately be right where it is. may not, may be in another location in that four-way stop area. So we want to go through a land planning process to look at that, but look at other things that make sense to be in that central area to kind of create this nice village center area that will be a major gathering area for the community. And if you go to any new community, larger communities, they have that. If anybody's been to the villages in Florida, they have 3 or 4 of them. And they're just great gathering spots for the community. So that's what we're looking at there. Okay, now let's go into the amenities area. And the first is the golf division. Talk about the rounds comparison, golf fees, then we'll get into the budget for operations as well as capital. Golf rounds. In 2012, we had about 150,000 rounds. Next year, we're projecting about 142,000 rounds. This year, 140,000 rounds. So you see, after 2012, we've hovered in that 140 to 145,000 range, so it has gone down. Now, the good news, though, is that if you look at your average rounds per course, each day we're open, we're relatively flat. You know, back in 2012, for every day open, your average rounds per course, and keep in mind we have 5 courses, were about 127 rounds per day. 2013, 128, and then 2014 was actually 126. So really not far off. They're in the ballpark. And then we're projecting 126 for this year, and we're budgeting 126 for next year. Clearly, the ice storm, you know, we were probably out of commission for at least 3 weeks, and part of that was early March, which is usually when we start getting, you know, some good rounds of golf and what have you. But we want to be conservative and, you know, kind of not go overboard here. So we're projecting the same average rounds per course per day. So that's the good news. Even though the rounds are down, we're relatively flat with respect to the average rounds per course per day open. Golf fees. We're going to take the golf fees up about $1 per round. So you can see the preferred member rate right now is $30. The preferred rate in 2016 will be $31. Your member rate, $42, member guest, $52 right now, and then that is in 2015. These are the pre-winter rates, and then we'll take those up $1 each. So you've got $43 for the member and $53 for the guest. Then you see our winter rates. We do that January through March, and then November through December. Again, also those going up $1. So in general, all the golf rates will go up about $1 per round. The annual pass program, that's staying the same. $1,800 for an individual, $2,700 for a couple. But we are going to take the cart fee up $1. So every time you play a round of golf, you'll pay $13 for your cart fee. Okay, let's look at their cash flow now. You can see we've got a nice increase in the revenue, almost $300,000, and that's a function of the rounds of golf coupled with the increase in the rates. Additionally, we're anticipating more merchandise sales and more food and beverage sales as a result of Dorchester now being open. Remember, Dorchester was really working out of a temporary pro shop with very little food and very little merchandise to sell. So that's also driving the revenues up for next year. Expenses also going up, and then, you know, like anything, we've got to increase in our cost, and want to make sure that we keep those courses maintained to the level that they have been in the past so that we can continue to attract more golf rounds. So the bottom line is we're anticipating our excess revenues going up about $140,000 in golf, and so that's good news. Now, capital expenditures, they're going to also go up. We're spending about $500,000 this year. We're projecting or budgeting $640,000 next year, and I'll show you the detail on that next. Again, principal on the long-term debt, that's the debt on Stonehenge, is going up. And then you can see in this year, the big amenity project, $1.3 million, that was Dorchester Clubhouse. So we started that in 2014, finished it in 15, spent about $1.3 million in cost this year. And you can see the interfund transfers just so that we end up with zero in the golf area at the end of the year. So this year about 1.6 million, again because of Dorchester. Next year 358,000. Now let's look at the capital. First item is Druid Hills golf carts. We're on a 5-year rotation for our golf courts. We have 5 courses, so every year we get a new fleet per course, and that runs about $140,000, which actually is a great price because new carts run about $4,500. We get a great trade-in value on our existing carts because they're gas carts, and so we end up paying really about less than $2,000 a cart as a result of that. So it's a good program that Steve has been working on for a number of years. Tees, greens, and irrigation systems, we'll spend about $100,000 just to make some upgrades to those. Resurfacing cart paths, that's going to be selected areas, different courses. It's not going to be one course that we'll do some cart path repairs to smooth those out. I think one of the things that you hate when you're a golfer is driving down a cart path and bumping around. So we're going to try and smooth those out. Then equipment and vehicles, pretty much every year we spend about $300,000 on equipment and vehicles. If you think about that, that's only $60,000 per golf course. You can actually spend about $50,000 just on a fairway mower. So it's specialized equipment that can be very expensive, but our team does a great job looking at used equipment. A lot of the equipment has come off of a lease program, and then we get it at a great rate and have a lot of useful life left on it. So they do a great job of really maximizing the equipment that we buy with only $300,000. Food and beverage. First thing we're going to look at is revenue per cover. So just one of our key performance indicators, and then we'll get into the budget.